How Chair-ity got started was really personal for me. So I grew up in a huge extended Italian family, had so many cousins and aunts and uncles, and we would have dinners all the time together. And these dinners I'd get to play with all my cousins, and then I'd go home and have to play Barbies with my dad, and that was just not it for me. And so I always wanted a sibling, and as you can imagine, an only child, I pestered my parents for a sibling and finally wore them down. And so we started looking into adoption for quite some time, and we were really scouring the Summit County Children's Services website, looking at their waiting child profiles, and we found a girl who her and I had just about everything in common with. Even our birth dates were just a few days apart. And so we kind of started to continue that adoption process with her, and it got too rigorous for my family. And so we had to pull out, but between kindergarten, when we initially started looking, to my sophomore year of high school, I would always check back at the website and see what she was up to, and once in a while there would be a change in her profile picture or a description of her, and that would be really encouraging for me to just kind of have some sort of sense of connectedness with her. But as I became a sophomore in high school, I started to think about what my next steps would be, and I knew I would be going into college and have so much support from family and friends, and thought about the support that she would have. And I asked my parents, what would happen, and they told me about this thing called aging out of foster care. And I think, like any teenager, I didn't believe my parents. Nothing they said could be true. So I went to Summit County Children's Services, and they verified what my parents had told me about what aging out of foster care meant in this harsh reality of it. And I just knew that there was something I needed to do. So I determined with them what their greatest needs were for these youth. And at the time it was furniture, as they moved into their first apartment. And so I knew that all my cousins, when they moved into their first apartment, got furniture from family and friends that had just kind of been collecting in people's basements. And so that's what I've kind of based our model on, and we collect it from these families, and that's how we are able to serve these kids.
It wasn't easy growing up for me. I saw things that I shouldn't have saw. I think every utility bill has been cut off: our gas, light, water, electric. It wasn't easy, especially when you're going to school with your friends and they notice it. It was kind of hard. I did not have anyone to talk to. I would have talked to my grandmother. Like I said, she was emotionally, verbal, physical abuse. My sisters, I don't think they understood the level of pain I was on. And I think that they would tell their friends that too, especially if they were like mad and angry at me and then just spread my business. So I did not have anything to talk to. Even when I chose to write it down, my sisters and my grandmother would go through my stuff all the time. So I had to keep it, I kind of had to bottle it up because I didn't have anything to do with it or anybody to turn to. After my sister did something she wasn't supposed to, she called my Uncle Jay. She discussed like everything that happened that night to my uncle, and my uncle was like, if you're really tired of him, put him in foster care. And she said, you know what, I will. The next day, she couldn't really find anybody, and she tried Dan Street. They don't file unruly charges. Safe Landing, they don't take sisters. So then she decided to go pick up her friend Sherry, and she told her to lie about it, which she did. And I think the reason for it, I think honestly it was a lie, but it was kind of truthful at the same time. I think she lied out of disparity to get rid of us. But the reason for it was, she was like, if somebody don't get these kids out of my house, then I will start to abuse them more than I already was. Like very, very bad. So they decided to put us on trial. It was a very long trial. I think I was still in middle school. And it didn't end until 2018, which I believe I was 15 at the time, so I was a freshman. When I first got in foster care, I was kind of excited, but I was kind of sad at the same time because I was holding back my tears because that's like I got to say goodbye to my family. I thought that I wasn't going to see my family like ever again, but I was excited because I wasn't with my grandma anymore. There's a new start for me. I could start over. I was depressed like all of my freshman year. My sophomore year, I was kind of starting to get out of depression, but I was still depressed. I honestly didn't get out of my depression year until I was in 12th grade. When you're in foster care, you get something that's called an independent living worker. They help you with everything as far as housing, where to look for it, stuff like that. So I was like, I got a lot of responsibilities. This is the time for me to straighten up. I can't act like a little kid no more, even though sometimes I still do. I miss it so much. I found this home. I found 2 other homes. They was all kind of close to each other. And then this one, honestly, this one looked it so small to me because the last person who lived here, she had her bedroom in here. In my room, she made that a study, like her study office. And then you have the dining room and the kitchen. It looked it so small, but once I came back to move all my stuff in, it's so big. Like, I thought it was small, but it was so big. Working with Maria was pretty awesome. I honestly, that particular day when she came to move stuff in my house, I wasn't fully prepared because I felt like I looked a mess, so I was kind of nervous because she was like, oh, you can help me. It's not, and I wanted to help her, but I looked a mess and I really didn't want to go outside, but I went outside anyway because I didn't want to be rude or come off as rude, but working with her is a wonderful thing. I did ask for a desk. I never thought I would get a desk. It's for my computer and my laptop. I never thought I would get that. These tables, this is a cute set. I love it. It's like 2 end tables in the middle one. I love that. They bring the tables and the chairs. Honestly, the table is absolutely wonderful. I'm still grateful. I think it's absolutely awesome. I honestly like it. I love it a lot because it's honestly not just me, but it's other females and other males and people out there that cannot provide for themselves either because of something they've done in their life or whatever the case may be. Like, some people can't provide for themselves, and just to know that it's an organization out there who is willing to help people and it's non-profit, that just shows how much they really care for the people and how much they want to give back to the community.
I knew this was my passion and knew this is what I wanted to do forever. And so I've been able to expand it 6-fold, and not only in location, but also in services we offer and community partners that we can offer our services to. So we're not just in Summit County right now, we're in Ashtabula, Lake, Cuyahoga, Stark, Medina, and Summit counties, working with all their county children's service workers, as well as their Bridges program providers, which extends foster care to the age of 21, as well as other community partners that might get some of these kids that fall through the cracks, like homeless shelters and halfway houses.
Well, what I initially thought was, to be completely honest, I had no idea. I had no idea what was going to happen, but it was just something that, I wanted to see and do. But what I left with was a lot of surprise to another kid situation, because the kid was really the same age as me and Levi. So I never knew that, 18-year-olds were living by themselves, didn't really have a lot of support with them. So I was really I was surprised. I didn't know people lived like that.
I met a 19-year-old and we delivered him sofas and tables, and I was just very surprised, like how Omar said that he's 2 years older than me, but like we're the same age, and his position that he's at, and just crazy to think about.
Kind of the best way that I can even exemplify how a young adult feels when they get this furniture and what it means to them, and also what it means to me or any volunteer that is involved, is I think the story about our first delivery. When we got to the apartment and it was empty and she was sleeping on the ground for a week until we got there and only had a pillow and a blanket, and the only light she had in her apartment was the light that was in her bathroom, I was shocked and stunned and couldn't imagine anyone living that way, let alone somebody who was just a year older than me at that time. And I couldn't imagine myself in that situation. And as we brought each piece of furniture in, she would dust it off or flip a cushion or whatever it was. But the image that sticks in my mind after 7 years of doing this now is we brought this lamp in that had been sitting in a family friend's basement for kind of as long as I remember. They just completely forgot about it, and we set it down and she polished it like it was a piece of gold. And I think this excitement that she had about this furniture was an excitement that she has for her new life that she never had before. She's never had a place to call home. She's never had her own bed, her own furniture, her own sense of like stability and community around her, and we were able to provide that for her. So I think, you know, the new pride that she can take in that space is a new pride that she can take in her life that she's never been able to have before, that so many of her peers can have.